Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? It's wonderful to be here. Peter Smart, that is my real name. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to talk today about the new internet. I'm going to be demoing live on stage what I believe to be the new standard for all websites and the future of digital products. But before I do that, I actually want to start with a bit of an experiment. Now, I'm pretty certain that all of you have one of these in your pocket. If you do, I want you to take it out of your pocket and hold it up above your head like this. Okay, keep them going. Okay, now, as you're doing that, I want you to think about the app that you chat with in your life, the AI app that you chat with in your life each day. Go to that app right now, the #1 app that you use. Okay, now when you are in that app, I want you to go to the conversation history. What is he up to? And when you have that conversation history up, I want you to give your phone to the person next to you. Swap your phone right now. No, actually do it. I was kidding. Who actually just went to pass their phone? Who was comfortable doing that? Who would be deeply uncomfortable doing that? Absolutely. Who would be so uncomfortable they're not even raising their hand right now? That's how uncomfortable they are. Absolutely. Why is this feeling so disconcerting? It's because our agents, our personal agents, have become such a central part of our lives. And many of us in this room, and I'm not going to name names, but many of us in this room spend more time talking to our agents than we do to some of our loved ones. There'll be people in this room, I know, you're probably sat next to one of them, who is spending hours a day talking to their agent. And in a recent study, 70% of that time wasn't necessarily work-oriented. It was personal. Agents are becoming our first port of call. They're having an outsized role in all of our lives. And what that's creating, as this proliferates, is a real chasm. It's creating a chasm between customers and companies. Why is this the case? Why is that even a problem? Well, to understand this, we actually have to go back and understand the comparison to these agents, the digital experiences that we've all used for the last 2.5 decades of digital products. And they look like this. Who feels stressed just even looking at this? Absolutely. These are the digital products that each of us use every single day, having to click and scroll and dig and find. And it might be any number of things that just make these experiences so frustrating. It could be the pop-up blockers. It could be the cookie notifications, the newsletter signups. It could be the incessant amount of advertising in relation to the actual content. But fundamentally, these experiences are static, they're complicated, and they are deeply impersonal. They're trying to serve millions of people, but ultimately not serving any one individual particularly well. Then along come agents. Simple, intelligent, and personal. There is no wonder why this technology, these tools, have become the fastest adopted tools in human history. But for brands and for companies, this is creating a real problem because it's forming a chasm. As these agents become our first port of call, it forms a chasm between them and their customers, the people they're trying to serve. It's creating a mediated relationship. Now, that's not new. We've actually all been experiencing a mediated relationship for the last 2 decades. And does everyone know what that relationship is? Google. Google has been that mediated relationship. It's how anybody generally tends to find anything online. Can everyone remember a search engine they used before Google? Anybody? Couple in the room? We're going to talk about that afterwards. That was the world that we lived in at one stage, but even then, those were still mediated relationships. Now, about 10 years ago, it was already hard to get found on Google, to get that organic click-through. Then, Let's call that 1x, by the way. But then along came sponsored results, and it pushed those organic results further down. Then about 18 months ago, it became about 20 times harder to be found and get that click-through on Google. Now today, it is 50 times harder. What's going on? Google didn't fundamentally change anything actually about their algorithm or their experience. They just added AI overviews and AI search to the top. We've all seen it, right? And so what do? We then go and look at the AI overview, and we trust the response, and then we don't click through. But that's just Google. If you compare that to ChatGPT, it is 3,000 times harder to get that click-through, to get found via ChatGPT, and it is 50,000 times harder to get found via Anthropic's Claude. People are just not tapping those citations. This is only going to continue. It's only going to continue as these agents become more capable of doing more for us, as we are more permanently in connection, consistently in our lives to these agents through hardware, and the depth of our trust in these agents, think about your conversation history, only increases. So what does this mean for many of us in this room who have digital experiences online, who have companies who need people to come to their experiences? There are many leaders panicking watching this take place. Why? Because agents do not care about your brand. Agents do not care about your experience. There's a real reason why Amazon are suing Perplexity, and it all makes logical sense. Because if a shopping agent can come to your experience, see everything that you're selling, but then go figure out where to buy it more cheaply, what's an agent going to do? Agents don't have the same philosophy, or let's call it defects, that we humans have. We humans are effectively using hacks all the time. That's what brand is. Brand is just a hack to make us feel confident in a decision, to help us close the gap between possibility and just choosing something. We might go to 3 or 4 different websites, experiences, sources, but ultimately, we're just looking for an answer. And so we use brand as a shortcut to help us identify which one we feel most confident in and which one we perceive to have the most value. Agents do not think in the same way. An agent does not care which one of these it uses. By 2027, agent traffic online will exceed human traffic. This is a new digital citizen that all of us are going to be interacting with. And it's a very new type of relationship for us in our day-to-day lives. So what should we do? Should we panic? Yes. No. In the middle. Here's the dichotomy. People want relationships with brands. We're all of us in this room. None of us wants to be mediated through an agent and have an agent go and do everything for us. That's absolutely not what we want. We want relationships with brands. We are first-person exploratory beings, but there is a divide right now between the types of experiences that we get. With personal agents, we get experiences that are simple, which are intelligent and are deeply embedded in our context, our personal lives, making them so effortless to use, which is why we use them. And then you compare that to these digital experiences that we've used for the last 2.5 decades of the web and apps, and they're rigid in comparison. They are impersonal. They are complicated. What's the solution? Our digital experiences actually need to change. 2 years ago, when I was here on the EmTech stage, I announced a new paradigm for the world, something called generative experiences. This was a new technology that allowed experiences using AI to generate themselves in real time. Today, I'm pleased to introduce a subset of generative experiences called agent-to-agent experiences. This is the new standard for the internet, for websites, and for apps in development. And these agent-to-agent experiences work symbiotically with personal agents to make our experiences simple, intelligent, and deeply human. And I think they have profound implications for not only how we're all going to get to interact with technology moving forward, but also for the services that all of us in this room actually get to build to serve people and to serve customers. And what I want to do is actually show you. Before I do that, I'm going to explain a few of the core concepts very, very quickly. So, there are two entities here. The first is the brand experience. Now, this could be an e-commerce site, it could be a financial platform, a travel site, you name it. It may look like a website or an app as we know it, but what it actually is a brand agent. And it's an agent that has control of a visual canvas, which means that it can bring in the right information at the right time. This brand agent is then securely connected to people's personal agent. And there's an anonymous handshake that takes place that's controlled by the user, and that provides the context to the brand agent to personalize the experience. And what I want to do is show you. So, let's see if we can do this. Okay. All right, so far so good. So what you're looking at here is two things. The main part of the screen here is a brand agent. Now it looks like a website, okay? It's a series of componentry that are arranged on the page, on a canvas. And on the right-hand side over here, this is my personal agent. This is what I talk to, okay? And it has context on me. So we're just gonna try something here for a second. Where am I going on vacation this winter?
You're heading to Vail to ski. Is something new on your mind?
Yeah, that's great. Okay, cool. So I'm now going to pair. Hey, can you personalize this experience with that context in mind? So what you're seeing here on the screen is now a completely personalized experience for me. It's made a curated collection of products, it looks like. And as I scroll Vail in December, and it's got the weather over here, this is now using that personal context to actually bring what it thinks to be the appropriate products to me. So let's try something completely different. Okay, so I'm actually not going to go to Vail. I'm going to go to Tahoe instead. I'm just going to hang out by the lake. Can you update the experience with that context in mind? Okay. Right, so let's scroll. Sierra Snug, that's cool. Okay, so we'll go in here, explore more. Let's move this. Okay, so let's try something else. So we've got a bunch of jackets. Hey, can you actually show me jackets more like the one that I bought last Christmas? Okay, so what's happened? So it's added a bunch of filters over here on the right-hand side, and these actually are pretty similar. Okay, so let's go into one of these. Okay, and let's... Hey, can you show me that hat we were looking at there on the homepage? Okay, sweet. Okay, can we buy both of these? Let's see if this works. We did it. These are agent-to-agent experiences. Agent-to-agent experiences will become the new standard for all digital products. One system that can serve billions of people individually, that are personal, that are intelligent, that are simple. And it works for every type of experience that you could imagine, be it a travel website, even a news website, which we'll talk about. But what I want to do now is just unpack here what's going on underneath the hood. So you've got these two entities here. You've got the personal agent and you've got the brand agent. And effectively, this is an abstracted way, just a very simplified way of putting it. But there's two things happening here. So the personal agent, when it pairs to the brand agent advertises its tools. It's effectively its customization options that are available to the personal agent. Then there's anonymized parameters that are passed through a middleman and preferences to that brand agent. Now, there's a few things in there. There might be some keywords in the response to some questions. So Tahoe, for example, skiing. But it also might be things like users' preferences. So some people want ultra-personalized experiences. Some people want serendipity. Some people don't want everything to be decided and personalized for them. They want to discover things. That's a user preference. It's also learning style, how we each want to receive information. I'm a very, very visual person. Other people are not like that. And so that gets passed across as abstracted context. Then content is mapped and composed. That's a mixture of existing content, so existing products, for example, but it's also net new content. I think we just saw some examples there of content that had been generated on the fly specifically for my trip, and that's ultimately then rendered on the canvas. So what's this mean for the services that we all get to build? Well, firstly, it means that we can truly serve people individually, really for the first time. And if we think about just some other examples here where Tom, Lisa, and Jim do have completely different ways of shopping, if in normal the last 2 decades of the web, to serve each of those individuals uniquely would have been impossible. Which is why we have standardized experiences for everybody. It would just be engineeringly so complicated to do. Now with these experiences, this can be built of the same Lego blocks, the same underlying components, which were arranged flexibly for each person. And it's not just the componentry, it's content, it's products, it's even the offers that can be shared individually with people, the personalized messaging, where your brand messaging can actually meet that person's need in real time. It moves us from a world of, as a human being, having to go back and scroll and search and dig and have 20 tabs open to instead a canvas where what it is that we're looking for can be rendered actually on the quote-unquote page. And it eliminates friction. Again, as we move to this agentic world, we're going to be looking for ease in everything that we do. Here, that relationship is two-way. The personal agent can then go and buy based on the context of what it is that it knows that I'm looking at actually in that experience. And the last thing here that I want to talk about is agent autonomy. There's going to be many instances where we want to shop and we're going to bring our personal agents with us. There's going to be other moments where our agents are shopping autonomously on our behalf, retrieving information, gathering insight for us on our behalf. Now, today, what does an agent get to do? It scrapes your generic public structured data, which was created to try and serve everybody in an abstracted way. But this same underlying architecture and A-to-A experience can now, I call it lobbying, individually lobby people's personal agents, because when that personal agent comes to that brand experience, even without the human there, It can advertise the tool, so in this case, the catalog, let's say. The keywords can be passed, then the personalized content can be passed back to that personal agent, explaining why this brand would be a great brand for this person, why this information would be great for that individual. And then again, the agent can then make the decision on what it's going to do. It might then make a choice based on that by itself, or return that information actually to the user. This is about bridging the chasm. Agents are and are increasingly going to play a really outsized role in our lives, and this is only going to continue as our agents become more capable of doing more for us, as we are more permanently in connection with them, and the depth of our trust in them grows. Digital products today have fueled that divide because of their rigidity and how impersonal and complicated they are. Again, they were the perfect standard for the last 2 decades. They won't be for the next ones that we're going into. Agent-to-agent experiences move us from a world that looks like this to a world that looks like this. A new form of harmony between brands and companies, people, and their agents. I've been Peter Smart, and thank you very much for your time.